All right, a quick little video to wrap up my holiday in Europe. I arrived in Frankfurt about 3 weeks ago and hired a Tesla Y. So I'm not going to bore you with the details of Teslas and how they work. You can look that up in separate videos. This is about having a holiday here and what you do in a Tesla Y to make the most of it. Now, first and foremost, the thing is, I wanted to get a Tesla, but when I arrived and the good people at SIXT said, yeah, that's all right, we can find you a Tesla Y so you can have your dream holiday. But the upgrade price in the end basically doubled the price what I'd booked with the BYD Atto 2. Now, very different car, but EV, smaller range. Look, I could have had a go at just using the BYD, but I really want a Tesla. So another point for here is to get the best price online. S6 were the cheapest by far for EVs. I missed out on the booking the Tesla Y in the way I wanted it and getting a good price up front. So let's give you a number. It was 2,000 euros odd for 22 days, which, you know, a lot of people I've talked to here say, hey, that's pretty good, but I could have done better than that. The charging by appearances here and the cost of electricity to charge EVs is at a low right now. So it's cost me, and we can look it up on the details here and you can agree or disagree, but here we have that I've on average used about 160 watt hours per kilometre. That comes in at under 10 cents euro per kilometre. By comparison, using diesel or petrol in Europe is going to cost you a whole lot more. Anyway, let's take a look at a few things with the Tesla Y and the experience here. First thing you're going to notice, this vehicle is black. It's been a hot summer. It's cooled down now. It's kind of okay, but a black car in the heat of summer here in Europe is not such a good idea, and whether you got an EV or not. So white would have been a much better idea. I just don't get it in Australia. We just don't do it. But the other thing is the glass roof. What's with glass roofs? You know, it's beautiful. It's panoramic. It's really super cool, but why the glass roof? It makes no sense in Australia, and in a hot European summer it makes even less sense. Now let's look at Autopilot. We had to turn on this thing here. They gave it to me without that turned on, so it actually didn't have the auto steer function turned on, so I actually had to go that turned on, and the guy in the garage said, oh, you cannot do this in Europe, but hey, look, the auto steer was a great thing. Now let's keep going. Oh, here on the wheel as well, we can set the distance back with this knob here, left and right, so we can shrink the distance behind the vehicle in front. Really good thing to do. I sat way behind the vehicle in front, and that made life a whole lot easier. Other thing is these wheel trims. Actually, see, I just kicked one back on. That's because it's a good idea to take them off. Look, honestly, SIXT, sorry, I've actually have scuffed the rims on this side, passenger side as well. So in hindsight, I probably should have taken these plastic wheel guards off. You've got the lovely Tesla alloys behind that, but it's going to be best not to scuff it. Now that, I didn't do that, by the way. I did not do that, I promise you. That's already on the record. But anyway, so that's that feature. So take the real rims off. Speeding fines. Look, I took rural roads and I took regional roads, and they've got speed cameras. In fact, there's speed cameras everywhere in France. And while I mixed up the roads to give myself a different driving experience, one thing, I definitely got some speeding fines, because even though the Tesla is seeing the speeds, it's not always slowing down in time for the speed camera, and particularly the 30k zone entering a small rural town. So be on top of your speed when entering a rural town. Even with the Tesla's advanced technology, knowing that it can slow down, and it will slow down, it's not enough to save you from the speeding fines. Oh, let's have a look here. There's something cool I did here. This actually, there was like a bun with a sausage in it that I got. I've taped it on. I probably should take that off now before I get back. But this was actually quite handy. Actually, I'm known for making little knick-knack things like this, but somewhere here I'll have a USB-C charger that goes through that slot. I'm also famous for being that guy that always carries some blue tack, you know, a removable sticky product. It's not chewing gum. I haven't been eating that, promise you, but blue tack. And this little holder has been a godsend. Because why? It's because I actually put my Android phone here and use Google Maps in support of, and because the traffic data and some of the navigation data, and even to compare the two, was made simpler by having this right here. And so to actually have your smartphone right there was very handy for doing things while on the road. So the wireless charging, and the USB down here, you probably already known this if you've watched Tesla videos. There's USB-C ports and there's wireless charging. Then make sure you bring USB-C type chargers, because that's all you've got in here. What else do we do? Look, French and the Germans to a certain extent love to follow you too close behind, so not much you can do about that. It's certainly something that you don't do in Australia, and it's frowned upon, even though some people do it. But that's just sort of one of those things that happens. I've had a surfing holiday and I've been at the beach, which has been wonderful. I've got all my foiling gear and all the rest of that all packed up here, ready to go. But just a couple of things. Actually, can't really see it. Now I'm going to give it up at the airport, but this is actually a mattress, just a cheap foam mattress with a nice cover on it. I use that for just sleeping. I actually had a couple of nights where accommodation was a hassle, and to be at the surf place or do whatever I wanted to do, I actually had my surf gear stood up here, stood up in this place, and I had a foam mattress here. One thing I'm really annoyed about, and I didn't solve it this trip, is I didn't come up with a solution for heating or cooling food, you know. So I look at a cooler bag over there from Aldi that sort of kept stuff, but well, one day I ate something that's a little bit old, a salad, and almost regretted it. But anyway, I got away with it, and that made it okay. Tire punches, I had a tire puncher, I solved that myself. Gonfler, pignou on French, and gonfler is to actually pump that up. So and vis, I had a screw, which is a vis in my tire, and I got that fixed up. I had to shop around. Some guys turned me away, said no appointments there next week, but I managed to get that solved as well. All right, I got a plane to catch, so I better get out of here. The price of toll roads, which were get a ticket at the start and use your credit card on the way out. I'm watching, of course, to not scuff your rims on the way out of the actual toll booth. They're a menace. I promise you. Okay, that's it. Let's wrap it up and get back to Australia, I reckon, because it's time to go. But a couple of things in closing. Look, the overall experience of having a Tesla is you're the coolest kid on the block. As I've said, over the course of the holiday, it's worked out a good deal cheaper, and that actually meant that I actually traveled a lot more kilometers than I anticipated, because it was really cheap. In closing, look, because you've got the auto steer and the adaptive cruise control and some help on the steering, so a great way to see Europe is just sit back, relax, a safe distance from the vehicle in front. That takes the brain energy out of driving, and you can do long distances by a matter of course, and that makes life really simple and gives you a really good holiday experience. So I certainly did have a wonderful time, and so I'm grateful that I was able to get this vehicle from SIXT and able to get it at a reasonably good price. The whole technology, I've hired cars in Europe, I've borrowed, begged, steal, not stolen, but I've had some cheap cars in Europe. One, back it was 40 degrees, no AC, it was a wreck, but they just said, look, have it, take it away. And that was a lot of fun, but it was really hot. Anyway, this is a great way to see Europe, and there's times when I was just smiling away as I drove through rural France, watching the sunset, because it was just such a nice easy drive, so much better than any drive I've had before. So it's a really great option, and I suggest if you can afford it, if it fits into your budget, if it makes sense, then go ahead and do it. Look, even let's have a quick look here, and wrapping up the final thing here in terms of any consumption. Look, on the last trip we hit 170 odd kilowatts. Overall I've averaged 160. When I hit the autobahns and was cruising back here to Frankfurt Airport, I was getting up to the 170s or more on the autobahns. If you're traveling quickly, using a lot of electricity, you're pushing all that air, so beware of that. All the best, and love to have your comments and feedback. If you do like this video, please like and subscribe and comment to promote this video more widely, and we'll see you next time in Europe.